210422, request for presentation for proposed city manager study, brought to us by Mayor McClusky. Floor is yours, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Council President and Council. So, Brian, do you have? Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll go through this. As everybody is aware, this is something that has been discussed ad nauseum for a couple of years now. It's taken, several meetings with other cities and other representatives to kind of put together this, I'll say formal, but it's more informal presentation to you guys about putting together a study to find out whether or not you think and we think the citizens need a city manager here in Homewood. There was a lot of research done, a lot of meetings that were taken to put this little bit together, but there will have to be more meetings done by you once I hand this over, because the hope is for me to go through the presentation tonight and then hand this over to, I believe, the Finance Committee is correct, okay? So it will be referred, but I do want to go through this presentation and just kind of give you, because there are a lot of options that we can take here. Whether we do nothing and everything remains the same as it is now, we can make slight changes, we can make even more changes or heavier changes that would affect the actual governance of the city. So there are a lot of different options that people have talked through over the last several years in what we think may be best for Homewood moving forward. So I wanted to kind of go through this, and then there's not really going to be time for questions, because that'll happen inside the committee, and you'll see some of the other things that I'll point out as we go through here. But this is simply the city manager study, the presentation to the Homewood City Council for April of 2022. The introduction, this proposed study is to investigate the benefits of considering a change to the form of government currently utilized in the city of Homewood, Alabama. There are many options that are available, each with their own benefits and drawbacks. The suggestion to the Homewood City Council is to create a study committee for professional city management, comprised of various community members, business and community leaders, and to report their findings back to the Homewood City Council for consideration. Next slide. Thank you, Brian. The study committee charge, and this is essentially what we're looking for, is assisting the City Council in answering the question whether or not the day-to-day management of the City of Homewood by an appointed professional administrator will enhance efficiency, effectiveness, and consistency in the delivery of public services. So that is the main question. That is the reason that we are discussing this and have been talking about this over, again, as I said, the last several years. Brian, next slide. So if you look at just some of the numbers, some of the research that has been done, 9 out of the 10 cities that were awarded the National Civic League's All-American City Award in 2021 included a city manager or a professional management position, not necessarily a city manager. Sometimes people get that confused because there are, again, different options, which we'll go through soon. And also 5 out of the 6 cities that were awarded the 2020 American City and County Magazine's Crown Community Awards employ some sort of professional manager as well. So just giving you an idea of, this is something that if it has not been already in place, such as Mountain Brooks, who's been there since they were there, there are a lot of cities that are changing to some sort of professional management. So the governmental options, there are basically 4. If you look at them, there's the mayor city council form of government, which is what we are currently seeing inside this building right now. There's a council manager form of government, a mayor council manager form of government, and a city administrator. So again, several different types that you can really choose from. But if you look at the council manager form of government, that is going to be what Vestavia does, Vestavia Hills. The mayor council manager form of government is, mayor council manager form of government is going to be what Mountain Brook does. And then if you look down at for city administrator, that is what the city of Hoover does. So all of the municipalities around us right now are currently employ some sort of professional city management, but they are all completely different. So again, so many different options to kind of look at, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of each one of them. So we'll kind of go through each one of these just so you know the basic definitions. So the council mayor form of government, the mayor serves as the head executive branch of the city government and oversees the day-to-day operations of the city. and the council serves as a legislative branch of the city government and an authority over finances and property. The council enacts policies, passes ordinances, and determines what services the city will offer. Brian, next slide. Sorry, I keep not telling you to go to next slide, and I apologize, but you're on point, as always. So here in Homewood, we do have the mayor council form of government. The mayor does not have voting privileges, but does have veto power. Council can override that veto with a 2/3 vote, and the election for mayor is citywide, as you are all aware. Council, of course, is made up of 11 members, 2 per ward, one designated as council president. Ward representatives are elected only in their ward, and the council president is elected citywide. Homewood has the largest city council in the state of Alabama. Votes are majority based, needing at least 6 to approve, and for quorum. And then each council member is assigned at least 2 committees. Next slide. The council manager form of government. This, again, there are options inside the options. So again, don't let it confuse you, but this is, what the study will get to as you go through it. Governed by 5 city council members. The number is flexible, but it must be odd. The mayor is one of the 5 voting members, presides over the council meetings, and is the head of municipal government for all ceremonial purposes. Mayor and 1 other council member are quote unquote at large, and the other 3 are by district or ward. So again, that would change districts and cause a lot of other issues to come up. So again, just options for you, but want you to be aware. City manager is appointed by the city council and may be removed on a majority vote. City manager is the administrative head of the city and has the authority to appoint and remove all officers and employees of the city except members of certain boards. Those would be the park board, the school board, the library, the planning commission, and the BZA. And the members of the city council are prohibited in requesting the manager to hire or fire any employees and may not give any orders to city employees. So, I know there's a lot of information I'm throwing at you, but just, again, want you to be cognizant. Then you look at, thank you, Brian, mayor, city council manager form of government creates a position of city manager without actually changing the form of government. The manager may be dismissed upon a 2/3 vote of the governing body, assuming duties aren't being met. Manager would have the authority to see all laws and ordinances are followed, appoint and employ all necessary employees except for police and fire chiefs, make and execute contracts, make financial reports to the governing body, fix all salary and compensation for employees, act as a municipal purchasing agent, and other duties seen fit by the ordinance that creates the position. So again, there's other things that can be put into that particular position, and there are things that may not be put in that particular position. But it just, again, gives you the options as you go through the study to see what you can and can't do. The city administrator, again, this would be something like Hoover, is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city, but the mayor remains the chief administrative officer and is responsible to the city council and the community. The city administrator would report directly to the mayor. They would attend all city council meetings and then reports to the city council. They handle the budget execution, oversight, and forecasting with all department heads. So essentially, they would handle all of the budgetary needs for the city. And that position is appointed by the mayor. Next slide, Brian. So again, just some suggestions and advice, and this comes from conversations with other city managers that I've gotten to know very well over the last couple of years, along with other mayors that I've had this discussion with. But these are just a few of the things that I think should be given to you guys once it goes to the committee. One would be host a public hearing on the subject to get constructive thoughts from residents and businesses. Create subcommittees to include one for each professional management model. This is what Vestavia did when they changed their form of government and went to a city manager position. They actually created subcommittees for each one of these options that I've just laid out for you, so that you have different people looking at different ones, and then everything is brought to the council at one time. So essentially, you'd have one for the mayor council, which is what we are now. So you may not actually have to have somebody study that, since I'm pretty sure you guys know what you're doing. the council manager position, the mayor council manager position, and then the city administrator. So you're looking at roughly three subcommittees, if not four. Set a full schedule of open work meetings for that main study group when they get together to discuss this. And of course, those subcommittees would report to the main study group. And then also invite other state and local officials to come to those meetings to speak to the study group as well. And I can tell you that everyone that I've talked to has already said, yes, please let us, we would be glad to come, so that they can give you as much personal information as they can, since they're actually going through it right now. And then just the last slide is just a suggested timeline. So this was put together by me, but this can certainly change at any point based off of what the committee feels like it needs to do once it is referred. But April 2022 was the initial presentation to Homewood City Council and referral to says Special Issues Committee. I forgot to change that. It's actually to the Finance Committee. I apologize. But that was for April 22. April through May, creation of the actual study committee itself and the subcommittees for each one of those possible forms of city government. And then June 22 through December of 22, independent studies by those committees, those subcommittees and the main committee, as those subcommittees will report to them, or to the main committee, excuse me. And then January 2023, presentation to study committee and to the council, and begin discussion on citywide special vote based on findings. Because you have to be aware that if, depending on what type of professional management, if we decide to go in that route that you want, there is a likelihood that a special vote would have to be held within the city, especially if you're going to change the form of government, if you're going to have to readdress wards or districts, however you want to do that, very similar to the way Vestavia did theirs. So there is a ton of information, but we just wanted you guys to understand this is a 30,000 foot view of what your options are. Hopefully, as we progress tonight and actually have this referred to the Finance Committee and the subcommittees and the main study committee are formed, you will continue to get more information, dive a lot deeper, or those committees will dive a lot deeper and report to you guys what they're seeing and what their suggestions may be. So that's really all that I have. I appreciate you letting me speak to it, and I would hope that we would get this referred tonight so that we can start moving.